All right, how's it going, everyone? This is Spencer with CFSM Media. I am here with Doug Hendrixs, who's the Deputy Public Affairs Director for the Hoover Dam and the Lower Southwest Region for the Bureau of Reclamation. Tell me about your job a little bit, and we'll get into some questions.
My job here at the dam, or here with Bureau of Reclamation, is I'm the Deputy Media Officer. And what that means, I provide tours of the facility. I work a lot with the news media on legal and legislative issues, do a lot of press release and public information development. So
Awesome. And I know behind me we're in kind of a critical drought situation right now, so tell me a little bit about that.
right now here at Lake Mead Hoover Dam, we're right in the throes of about a little over 2 decade drought. This is the worst drought since records have been taken along the Colorado River. We're sitting right now only at about 36% of capacity of overall storage in Lake Mead. So the elevation's gone down about 140 feet, the surface elevation of the reservoir. With the elevation down, it has had some impact on our ability to generate hydropower. Right now, we're only generating at about 60% efficiency through the 17 turbines here at the facility.
And what's the max power generation compared to what you're able to produce now?
Well, Hoover Dam at full reservoir can generate about 2,550 megawatts. That's enough power on an annual basis for over 1 million households. And that's power that we traditionally wheel out to Southern California, Southern Nevada, and parts of Arizona. We have municipal power entities that we deal with that contract for the power from the Department of Energy here from this facility.
I know you mentioned off camera too, with the drought and everything going on, that there's going to have to be talks now pretty soon with the power consumption and water in regards to what state gets what. How does that process work out?
Well, we're just in the initial stages of what we're doing now is we're fact-finding or information gathering with the 7 basin states. As you well know, there's 7 basin states that depend on water out of the Colorado River. By year 2026, we're required, as the Colorado River goes down and the Lake Powell and Lake Mead hit threshold levels, to take a look at the 1922 compact. We will begin a new renegotiation process with the water users and municipal utilities that depend on the water from this facility to take a look at long-term drought options. But it will still be based, a lot of our water policy, on prior appropriations. I mean, we're not going to reopen the compact or drastically probably change a lot of our water law, but we are certainly taking a look at how do we protect the elevations of water in the reservoirs, how do we recharge the system under drought circumstances.
And for the viewers who might not be aware, what are those 7 states?
The 7 states, the lower basins, Arizona, California, and Nevada, and then upper basins, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, and Utah.
And what would be another way of getting water out here? I know like the snowfall has been kind of low. What are ways of refilling the dam?
The Colorado River, all the reservoirs we have on the Colorado River, you've got Lake Mead here, Lake Powell above us, and then all the other reservoirs, totally combined, we can store about 60 million acre feet completely full. Mm-hmm. Right now, we're down below 30 million acre feet. We're down somewhere in the neighborhood of 23 or 24 million acre feet in total storage. To recharge the system, it's going to take some very good winters in the east slope of the Colorado Rockies. Most of the water we depend on these reservoirs come from the Colorado Rockies or from the Green River watershed. So we each and every year, it's contingent on how much snow the Rocky Mountains get, and then also the Green River drainage. And unfortunately, out of the last 20 years, there's only been about 5 or 6 years of above average precipitation, and then the rest of those years have either been average or way below average.
Now, could states like California, if this drought situation continues, could they more heavily invest in desalination instead of relying on the Hoover Dam?
Absolutely. A lot of your basin states are looking at other options to stretch water further. We provide water to the basin states, and then how they stretch that water for their end users is their priority, based on prior appropriation and who has a long-term entitlements to the river. But that said, states like Arizona, California are certainly looking at desalination, aquifer storage, any number of things. Water reuse is real big in Southern California, where when water's been used in the initial time, either for municipal or industrial purposes, that wastewater gets cleaned up and gets used again. And we have a lot of what's called microfiltration plants in Southern California, Orange County, where the water is used again and again and again. We're also taking a look with the states like California and also Arizona about either seawater or brackish water desalination and cleaning up dirty water sources or seawater and using that water. In California, for instance, there's a number of different places, Carlsbad, San Onofre, where they've taken a look at potentially putting large-scale desalination plants in place.
Well, that's actually news to me. I didn't know they were looking at turning San Onofre into a desal plant. That makes sense. I mean, I would prefer to keep it at nuclear and then putting in small modular reactors, but that's another topic.
That was a site that was looked at because there's a lot of infrastructure there that would already work. It would be a logical pumping place, just like down in Carlsbad, and there's other places down across the border in Mexico they're looking at along the Pacific Ocean that potentially could be pumping plants for bringing water in for seawater desalination. And what they look at is, where they could pump large scales of water, bring that in through pipeline into, either San Diego or Los Angeles. That's a very long-term process, very expensive. That would be, but it is being seriously looked at by, Metropolitan Water District out of Southern California and other entities in that area. So.
Oh, and I know too they'd have to move all the spent fuel from the San Onofre site, which would be another cost, and Department of Energy. I mean, a lot of other departments involved there.
Yeah, you could be right about that. I just know that that's a site that was looked at as having as a good logical site for putting a manifold in to bring water out of the sea. So where they would put it there, I have no idea. I just know that particular area was looked at. So.
Good to know. That's actually, I mean, like a logical location. Might as well reuse the spot, especially if it's already government owned.
Sure.
Now, the last question I have is about, I think I already kind of addressed this earlier, but maybe you could go a little bit more into specifics on the percentage of, I guess, consumption from the Hoover Dam. What entities are buying power from this plant?
When Hoover Dam was completed, about 70% of the power went to the Los Angeles area. When the power plant was completed in the late 1930s, LA was growing tremendously at that time. So that said, LA Power and Light contracted to have and help pay for a lot of the costs to put a lot of the power plant in back in the 1930s. So, like I said, about 70% of the power back in those days went into Southern California. That's not the case anymore. I still think in the neighborhood of somewhere around 30 or 40% of the power goes out to Southern California. There are hosts of municipal power buyers now, utilities that use the power. We market our, when we generate here, we turn the power over to Department of Energy at the switch yard, and then they have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 50 to 60 municipal power buyers that buy power from the Department of Energy for use for municipal or industrial purposes. We don't sell. Reclamation, who I work for, does not sell the power. We generate and then turn it over. But it's still, hydropower here is still vitally important to the process. Not to bore you to death, at any power grid you have firm power, which is like your nuclear, your coal, or your natural gas. Hydropower, why it's so important, is we can phase up immediately when the demand comes on the power grid. We just put more water through the system, and we can phase up very quickly. So in the mornings and the evenings, when the highest demand comes into the system, we can load into the Western power grid to help stabilize the power needs at vital times. So that's one of the reasons hydroelectric is so much in demand.
Yeah. And two, and then there's, I know, Southern California, where I'm from originally, there's a lot of blackouts. The Department of Energy at that switch station can say, oh, California's having some power struggles or whatever. They can just, switch it over, right?
Well, yeah, in the Western power grid, it's pretty much maintained by the Department of Energy. We load into the same power grid. as your private producers. I mean, you got Pacific Gas and Electric. You've got yeah, you've got a number of state power plants. You've got federal, which we are. You've got
SoCal Public Power Authority.
Exactly.
Like I also interviewed.
We all load into
yeah.
the same grid. And one of the big issues when you're loading power into the grid, whether it's us, another power producer, is there the transmission facility to get the power where you vitally need it at that time? In other words, are the transmission lines in the appropriate order where you can move power like from here to Arizona or from here to Southern California, or how much demand's already or how much power's already moving through that system. So occasionally it gets a little bit sporty as far as moving power around, depending on how much load's already in that system. So
that makes sense. Well, hey, I really appreciate the interview. A lot of good information. My viewers are going to be very happy about this. They're a little bit nerdy like myself, so this is going to be great. I'm going to get some B-roll of the site here and enjoy my time up here in Vegas.
Welcome to Hoover Dam and enjoy yourself while you're here. So if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. Beautiful facility. It's one of America's iconic facilities, so we're always glad to show it off. So
can't wait for the tours to open up again. I'll just say that I need to get back in there.
We're the same, and we're talking the same language because as the COVID issue starts to scale off and go away, we're very interested in reopening the facility to general tours, but we want to make sure that in that process we're doing it safe and responsibly according to National Institutes of Health and CDC guidelines. So.
Completely understand. Well, hopefully that sooner than later. So, all right, it was a pleasure as always.
Yeah, you have any this backside of the dam. If you look over to the other side, you'll see the power plant.